Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening around the world. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Blackjack. As always, if you're interested in having me put a deck together for you and feature it on this channel, or maybe help you tune up a current list after a couple years, I'm looking for any of the following metrics left in the comment section: a budget, a bracket, a commander, a theme, and any pet cards you have. So please leave a comment below and I'll put a deck together for you. Today we are going to be diving into the second Final Fantasy commander on this channel. The first one was the other Terra, and the reason that I picked this one is twofolded. One, I love enchantment decks, and two, though the collector boosters were too rich for my blood, I did buy a play booster box, and my big hit was a full art Terra. Okay, I'm not great at the camera. It's been a while. So I figured I might as well put a deck together. It's going to live in the same space as Go Shintai as far as shrines versus sagas, but I think they're both good and they both have their merits. So, Terra, Gruul Commander on the front, 3 mana. When it enters, mill 5, get an enchantment back, pay 6, flip it. It has all of the color pips in its text box, so it allows us to play all 5 colors. And then stages 1 through 3 are what we really care about. We can copy a non-legendary enchantment and then add up to 3 saga counters to it. So gonna be cool for our game plan, and it's just gonna be fun to have something like this in the command zone that gives us consistent card advantage, and it's cheap. Calyx, the only planeswalker in here, and the only reason he's in here is because he is a 4 mana great engine for any enchantment deck. Every ability he has is related to enchantments. Creatures, I am going to refer to Argothian Enchantress as well as all of the when you cast an enchantment or when an enchantment enters, draw a card as the card draw effects, the enchantment card draw effects. So we have Argothian, we have Eidolon of Blossoms, Satyr Enchanter, Setessan Champion, Sithis Harvest Hand, and then we also have Enchantress's Presence. Pretty simple, pretty obvious for most enchantment decks, not something we want to skip on here either. Barber Right. So sagas you control have read ahead. As far as I understand, that means that when you play a saga, you can simply put it to whatever chapter you want to read at. Destiny Spinner, a little bit of protection. Dubwake Giant, a personal pet card for any enchantment deck for me that can play it. I've always loved this card since Theros. I used to play it in Standard and still got a lot of love. Dryad of the Elysian Grove, consistent extra land drops in any green deck is always welcomed, and then being able to have all of our colors with all of our lands is awesome. Ivor, big creature, 6 mana. When he deals damage, mill that many cards, and then put a saga into play. Or a land, but you're always going to pick saga. Glissa Sunslayer, as well as Owaka, are both having similar effects as far as removing counters from our sagas, so we can relive those chapters if we choose to, and they both can also allow us to draw cards. Narcy, so whenever you sack an enchantment, draw a card, and then whenever a saga finishes, you drain and gain. Sakura Tribe Elder, in any base green deck, if you've seen my videos before, it's the same 10 pieces of ramp, 10 up, 10 down. Sakura Tribe Elder, Kodama's Reach, Cultivate, Farseek, Nature's Lore, 3 visits, Rampant Growth, Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, Soul Rain. 10 up, 10 down, always easy, always consistent. You should definitely be playing at least 10 if you're not, and you are going to have a much better time playing Commander. Sanctum Weaver pretty much goes in any enchantment deck, great mana generation. Satsuki is another way for us to put counters on our sagas, and then it can also buy back sagas when it dies. Sigurd, so we can pay a mana to add or remove a lore counter, and then whenever we add a counter, we put a 1/1 counter on all of our creatures. So we're typically not going to be winning in the fashion of like attacking with a couple of like 1/2s and 2/2s that have a few counters, but it's still a cool effect to have, and for what it's costed, it's a pretty cool card. So this is one of the main points of, I think, deck building to think about when you're considering building a deck like Terra. If you're newer to the game, you might immediately think, okay, this is great with enchantments and this is great with sagas. I'm going to put every saga I own in this deck and it's going to be awesome. So I think there's roughly between like 20 and 30 sagas in Magic right now. I might be way off, but I'm just guessing. Roll with me here. And I would say half of them are unplayable. Half of them are probably common and uncommon 4, 5, 6 cost sagas, do nothing cards that in the current day and age of Commander just really can't keep up. So I am playing a tight package of around 15 sagas, but they're all great and they're all worth the mana investment to me, so those are the ones that I chose. I'm not going to read each effect of all of them because we'll be here all day, but just know Bahamut for 9 mana is worth the cost. Brynhilder interacts with floor counters. Knights of the Round can win the game on its own, and then Summon Leviathan is actually a board wipe in addition to having abilities. Thomas Bombadillus, so one of each color, as long as there are 4 more lore counters among sagas you control, he has hexproof and indestructible, and then when a saga ends, you just put a new one into play from the top of your library. Very good chance that Tom is just as good, if not better, than Terra for a Saga deck, but obviously with it being new to Final Fantasy, Terra being a new card, we gotta try Terra in the command zone. Yuna protects our enchantments as well as buys them back. And then the final creature is Zur. I put this in pretty much every enchantment deck that has Esper colors. Even if you can't get your crazy good 9, 8, 6 mana sagas, there's still plenty of amazing things to get. You can get Sterling Grove. You can get a card draw effect. You can get a protection piece like Propaganda. There's a ton of different directions to go with Zur, so you should always put him in. He's going to obviously be kill on sight for everybody, but even if he turns around for 1 turn, it's going to be great. Sorceries, we already talked about the ramp package. We have 3 major removal pieces in Damn, Farewell, and Ruinous Ultimatum. I would say aside from Supreme Verdict, those would probably be like my top 4 favorite in Commander right now if you had access to all colors. Farewell being the best because it can deal with pretty much anything aside from Planeswalkers. And then Damn because it's multifaceted. And then Ruinous Ultimatum because it's just an awesome spell to cast. If you haven't done it, you should. Instants. Counterspell, Dawn's Truce, Heroic Intervention. Even Swords to Plowshares are all pretty much going to do the same thing in this deck. You're only going to ever interact with spells if they're going to win you the game on that turn or keep you from losing the game on that turn. You're not going to stop people from getting their engines going. You're not going to stop people from having a good time. Just think of Counterspell and Swords to Plowshares as cheap, one-off Heroic Intervention or Teferi Protection type effects to just keep you alive one more turn. Artifacts we mentioned, just the same ramp as it always is. Enchantments, so we do have 3 game changers. I wanted this to be a bracket 3 deck. I think it's gonna be allowed to have a little bit of breathing room in bracket 3 and actually get your business going, get your startup, get your foundation. I think if you start tuning it to like bracket 4, you're probably going to get outsped by a lot of things, so I'd stick around 2 to 3. Aura Shards, Rhystic Study, and Smothering Tithe are the 3 that I chose. Obviously, they're all amazing at what they do, and the biggest reason I chose these 3 over others is because they're enchantments, so they obviously interact favorably with everything else the deck is already trying to do. We have Battle at the Hella Vault, Birth of the Imperium, Elspeth Conquers Death, Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, Kiora Bests of the Sea God, One Reign to Rule Them All, The Eldest Reborn, and finally the Kami War. So again, I think we're right around like 10 to 15 sagas. I'm playing the ones that I consider to be playable and good and have a significant impact for their cost. As far as other enchantments of note, you have your very typical card draw, Black Market Connections and Phyrexian Arena. You have Copy Enchantment to get a second effect of any of these. Kenny Transformation and Darksteel Mutation two of the best removal in all of Commander, and obviously incredible in enchantment decks where you can actually get even more out of them, like card draw, because they don't just put the commander back in the command zone where your opponents have the ability to recast it. This just goes on top of the commander and turns it into something. So unless they bounce it or it gets removed from the field afterwards, it's stuck there doing nothing. It's an amazing ability to have. We have Enchantress's Presence, more card draw. Fable the Mirror Breaker, a lot of the same. We have the Ghostly Prison, Propaganda, Sphere of Safety lineup as far as personal protection and a little bit of disincentive for our opponents to be messing with us, since they're going to have to pay so much mana to attack us with each creature. And finally, Sterling Grove. You could sack this to search for a big enchantment at some point during the game, but I would say more often than not, you're better left just leaving it there and having it be a on the battlefield protection piece for everything else you have going on. As far as lands, it is a 5-color deck. The reason that it is $800, obviously that's Card Kingdom pricing, but the reason it is, or is it TCG? Either way, the reason it's so expensive is mostly just the mana base. This I just randomly put in all the fetches, all the shocks, an Urborg, a Yavimaya. You don't have to do any of this. If you've been playing Commander long enough or you've seen my other videos, you have a pretty good understanding of what it takes to have a decent mana base. I certainly would not go like 7 of each basic land and hope for the best, but check your trade binder, check your collection, try to make the best mana base you can and see how it goes. And if it's not working, then maybe get 1 or 2 cards at a time to kind of even it out and see if that shores up the weaknesses. As far as this particular one, the only thing I would not skimp out on is Hall of Heliod Generosity. Having the ability to buy back your enchantments on a land is great. And then finally, the World Tree. This is a cheap and proactive way to allow all of your lands to tap for every color. It's incredible for a land. It's hard to interact with, and especially the cheaper your mana base gets and the quote-unquote worse it gets, the less consistent, the more important a card like World Tree becomes. So that's the whole deck through and through. A good stuff enchantment commander with sagas as the main theme. I think it'll be a good time. I hope you enjoyed watching. As always, Godspeed.